Welcome back. Today we have the AFC South predictions for 2022. As always, we'll go over last year's standings. We'll go over the DraftKings over-unders for wins. I'll give my predictions, a little team preview. And that's it. Hopefully you guys enjoy. So the 2021 standings for this division were the 1 seed Tennessee Titans, who were 12-5. Despite all the injuries, they got the 12 wins. Very impressive. The Colts were 9-8. We know what happened to them. It should have been 10-7, but that last loss to the Jaguars was very bad. The Texans were 4-13, and the Jaguars were 3-14. So you had two good teams and two horrendous teams in this division last year. Now for this year, the DraftKings over-under win totals go like this. The Colts are at 10. The Titans are at 9, the Jaguars are at 6.5, and the Texans are at 4.5. Not much of a surprise, of course. Of course, Tennessee's going to drop by 3 wins in this scenario. The Colts bump up by a win. The Jaguars would improve by a few games, and the Texans are pretty much where they were last year. So with that said, leave a like and subscribe, all that good stuff. Hope you guys enjoy the video, and let's get into it. As you guys know by now, we go in reverse order. So my 4th place team in the AFC South is going to be the Texans, who I predict to be 4-13. Now, I know Texans fans will see this and be like, how the hell are we the same record from last year? But I look at the rest of this division. Obviously, the Jaguars got better with the amount of money they spent. Tennessee, they may have taken a bit of a step back, but they are still way more talented than the Texans right now. And then you have the Colts, who made a pretty big quarterback upgrade, got some other pieces as well. So yeah, I mean, look, I think the on-the-field product is better for the Texans this year as compared to last year, but I don't really think it'll impact them much in the win column. In the draft, they added Derek Stingley, 3rd overall, guard Kenyon Green in the 1st round as well. They got slot corner / safety Jalen Petre out of Baylor. I was a big fan of his. Obviously, the John Mechie story is terrible. Hopefully, he's fine. He's going to miss the entire year, but this whole thing is definitely bigger than football, so prayers out to him. Hopefully, he's back next year. In free agency, their main moves were Jerry Hughes. They got him from Buffalo. They got Steven Nelson, the former cornerback for the Chiefs and Steelers. He's a solid cornerback too, in my opinion. So, you know, they added some decent pieces in free agency, and I think they had a pretty smart offseason for the most part. They didn't give out these big contracts and screw themselves over for the future. I think they handled this in a smart way for the most part. Nick Caserio. It's going to take some time to fix this team. I think we all know that when Nick Caserio took over a couple years back, this situation was god-awful. Their franchise player, Deshaun Watson, sat out the entire year last year. The team did not want him to play, and they just traded DeAndre Hopkins, for a bag of donuts. They traded like a 3rd-round pick to get Duke Johnson. I mean, some of the moves they made were just unbelievably bad. So quarterback Davis Mills is going to have this year to prove he's the guy. He definitely showed some promise last year. I don't think Davis Mills is like the highest ceiling in the world, but he can be an average starting quarterback one day if things go the right way. You can make the argument last year that he was the 2nd most impressive rookie quarterback behind Mac Jones, of course. So it is a bad situation, not the best offensive line in front of him, but Davis Mills did find a way to get it done for the most part last season. Now, his receiving weapons are not that great. Brandon Cooks is the wide receiver 1. I like him. He's been consistent for a long time. But outside of that, Chris Conley, Nico Collins in year 2 now, Brevin Jordan also in year 2. So, if Collins and Jordan really step up their game in year 2, it could be a decent receiving core, but we know who Chris Conley is. He's been meh for a long time, so not expecting that much there. Lovie Smith went from the defensive coordinator to head coach. We'll see how that goes for the Texans. I thought David Culley was kind of given an unfair chance with this team. Some may argue that getting 4 wins out of this team last year was impressive in the first place. I would kind of agree with that. But now, at least for this team, the whole Deshaun Watson, the dark cloud is, finally past this franchise. They can move on from that distraction last year. I'm sure it sucked for this, team and organization and all the players last year to have that distraction over them. So now Watson is gone. Once again, I don't think it will result in a ton of wins, but the Texans franchise is moving in the right direction. My 3rd place team is the Jacksonville Jaguars, who I predict to be 7-10 this year. They had a big spending spree this offseason. They spent over $160 million in guaranteed money, which was an NFL record. Obviously, that number is going to go up because of the salary cap going up, but you get it. It's a lot of money spent this offseason. They signed some big free agents. Christian Kirk, the wide receiver, Brandon Sheriff, the guard, Evan Engram, the former Giant tight end, Foye Oluokun, the linebacker from the Falcons, and Darius Williams, the corner. Obviously, they had the first overall pick this year. They took Trayvon Walker, who in preseason so far has been pretty impressive from what I've seen. And they added Devin Lloyd at linebacker, who's a very good all-around linebacker, should have a solid NFL career. They lost DJ Chark, a wide receiver. They lost Andrew Norwell, the guard. But once again, they got Brandon Sheriff. They got Christian Kirk. They upgraded there. But they did lose Brandon Linder, their center. That's going to hurt. And Miles Jack went to the Steelers after they cut him. This is the first year of Doug Peterson at head coach. They had Urban Meyer last year, who was probably the worst coach in football. Him and Joe Judge kind of had that competition going on for the worst coach in the league, but I think Urban Meyer was the worst, I will say. Doug Peterson went 42-37-1 in 5 years. Of course, won the Super Bowl in 2017 with the Eagles. Now, Trevor Lawrence last year had just around 3,600 passing yards, 12 touchdowns, and 17 interceptions. It was not a good rookie season for him, but we saw plays from Trevor Lawrence to make you go, wow, that's why he was the first overall pick. Wow, that's why he was, predicted to be the next Andrew Luck. And some of those plays were that Thursday night game against Cincinnati. He made that insane throw rolling to his right, threw it like 60 yards to DJ Chark. He had another great throw in week 1. Fit it right behind the corner, right in front of a safety to Chark down the left sideline. He made some really impressive plays last year, Trevor Lawrence, and I want to see what he looks like in a better system, and this should definitely be one. They also get Travis Etienne back, the former teammate of Trevor Lawrence in college. Etienne missed all of last season with one of those Liz Frank foot injuries, so hopefully he's fine. Their offensive line could definitely use improvement. They once again have Jawan Taylor and Cam Robinson at the tackle spots. I mean, okay, it's decent, but it could be better. Of course, Brandon Linder retired, as I said, at center. He was a good player for them for a while, so that's going to suck. But this team should be fun, in my opinion. I don't think they'll make the playoffs, but they will get themselves more wins than last year. They will be much more watchable than last year. I kind of like the Doug Peterson hire, so I'm excited to see how that works out. And of course, I want to see how Trevor Lawrence looks after year 2. My second place team is the Tennessee Titans. I predict them to be 9-8, so I'm going right with the DraftKings over-under. Their over-under was 9, so I'm going for a push here. But this was the 1 seed last year, as I mentioned, despite all the injuries they had, with A.J. Brown being out. They had Derrick Henry out for half the year. Julio Jones was not really himself the entire year, and they still found a way to be the 1 seed in the AFC, which is a very good conference, as we know. Mike Vrabel has had at least 9 wins every year since he's been the head coach. He took over in 2018, so this guy has never had a losing season. They added wide receiver Robert Woods. They got him from the Rams. That was a good move. They did not give up much to get him. Yes, he's coming off an ACL injury, but apparently he's looking very good so far in camp. They got tight end Austin Hooper, the former Falcon, the former Brown. He's a solid tight end. And they got Treylon Burks in the first round of the NFL draft. They have a really talented secondary. Of course, they have the good safeties, Kevin Byard, Amani Hooker, but you look at the young cornerbacks they have. Caleb Farley is a ridiculous athlete who has to stay healthy. Christian Fulton was a guy I was a fan of out of LSU. Got to stay healthy as well. Elijah Molden, a good slot corner in year 2 now. So yeah, they have a lot of talent here. Hopefully those guys can stay on the field and put it together. Now, Pro Football Focus ranks their offensive line 27th coming into this year. They lost Roger Saffold, who went to the Bills. That was a good guard for them the past 3 years. So yeah, that loss is going to hurt, but this offensive line does have some questions. Dylan Radins at right tackle, I believe it's year 2 for him out of North Dakota State. He was inconsistent last year. I did like him coming out, but we saw a lot of inconsistencies going from playing Division II to the NFL. It's going to be a tough transition, but he right now is the starting right tackle, so we'll see how he does in year 2. I will say he's probably going to be better than Isaiah Wilson, so at least Titans fans have that going for them. Derrick Henry missed half the year, as I mentioned, with the foot injury. I believe he'll come back and have a monster season. I know the offensive line's not great, but Derrick Henry is he's just a beast. I really can't stop that guy. So as long as he's healthy, Derrick Henry's going to be fine. Ryan Tannehill definitely took a step back last year. In 2019/2020, he was a stud for a year and a half, so hopefully he gets back to that form. And I think this is a playoff team. I will say, I'm going to make my playoff predictions at some point before the year starts, probably in late August, early September, but I think the Titans are a playoff team. Their defense should be good enough. Their offense is it's fine. But I do think at some point they might need a quarterback upgrade. Of course, they drafted Malik Willis, who had some impressive moments in his first preseason game, but Ryan Tannehill is one of those guys like Kirk Cousins, who is a middling quarterback who is good enough to get you wins in the regular season, but usually comes up short in the playoffs. So, hopefully for Titans fans' sake, I'm wrong about that. But yeah, I think they could use a quarterback upgrade, or maybe Malik Willis could be that guy at some point in the future. My first place team is going to be the Indianapolis Colts, who I predict to be 11-6 this year. I do have pretty high expectations for this team. Matt Ryan is better than Carson Wentz by a decent amount. He's way more accurate. I think Carson Wentz is a bit more mobile, but still, as an accurate passer, Matt Ryan is way better, so that's definitely going to be important for them. They could still use some wide receiver help. I mean, outside of Michael Pittman, there's not much going on. Paris Campbell never stays healthy. Maybe they can get themselves Odell Beckham for the playoffs. Maybe they can get Will Fuller, who's still out there. I don't know, but I feel like they can use somebody else. Their offensive line is still good, but Eric Fisher is not coming back, it seems like, at left tackle. Of course, they lost Costanzo a couple years ago, so now it's Matt Pryor, the former Eagles 6th-round pick, so we'll see what he can do for them. But it's still one of the better offensive line units in football. They're going to have a great running game with Jonathan Taylor and Nyheim Hines. I mean, Jonathan Taylor is a stud. We know that. They did lose some guys like Rocky Sin at cornerback. They lost Xavier Rhodes as well. They lost Mark Lewinsky, who went to the Giants. But they did add Stephon Gilmore and Yannick Ngakoue. So they definitely needed another edge rusher. They got Yannick Ngakoue. That will help. Stephon Gilmore at this point is probably an upgrade over Xavier Rhodes. In the draft, they got safety Nick Cross, wide receiver Alec Pierce, and tight end Jelani Woods. They seem to love these former basketball players that convert to tight end. We know Mo Alley Cox is the same story. So we'll see if that works out once again. Their defense has the potential to be awesome, in my opinion. They have Darius Leonard, DeForest Buckner, Kwity Paye in year 2, Justin Blackmon, Stephon Gilmore, Bobby Okereke, other guys as well. This defense could be very good, of course. I think up and down they have the best roster and they have the best quarterback in this division, in my opinion. I think Trevor Lawrence one day might have a better career than Matt Ryan, but looking at it right now, entering 2022, I would say Matt Ryan's the best quarterback in this division. Now, of course, Ryan could fall off and this entire thing could blow up in their face, but assuming Matt Ryan has the type of year and accuracy he had last year, this team should be fine. So that's going to do it for the video. Hope you guys enjoyed. We have the Western divisions coming up, the AFC and NFC West, and then that will be it. After that, we'll get into the fantasy football videos. Draft season's coming up, so definitely excited for that. Hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I'll talk to you guys next time.